fun because that is the most conversation in a reflective time ever. So you'll get to talk about that again. Oh, fun. So with that, I'm going to turn things over to our panelists. Which one of you would like to go first?
I was told I was going first.
Mark, I guess you're going first.
Jeez. Throw me under the bus.
That's right. That's how we're rolling.
And there is a microphone too.
Yeah. Whatever's easier. Good morning, everybody. I don't know if this is
Oh, I guess you need to turn the microphone on.
Is it on now? I don't
Should
know.
be.
There we go. Good morning, everybody. Happy holidays, Merry Christmas, all that fun stuff. I was making brunch before I came here, so if I'm a little tired, that's why. I've been up for 4 hours making brunch. So they're eating it while I'm here. You can come later if you want. There's 3 different quiches if you want. But kind of on reflecting of today, I have some random thoughts that I put down. This is something obviously I deal with every day, but just to give a little background on myself, I'm a financial advisor, also an insurance agent. I'm a certified financial planner, chartered financial consultant, all that kind of fun stuff. But for me, my business is about 2/3 financial, which is planning, managing investments, doing some small business retirement plans, but mostly working with individuals. And then also health insurance. I have a decent sized business of health insurance, and then Medicare supplemental. So that's kind of the core of the business itself. So my client base is anywhere from 18 years old to over 80. And there's a big wide mix in between. I don't deal with minimums or any of those types of things, so I have clients that are just starting out. I have clients where we're just budgeting and they haven't invested anything yet, to clients that have $1 million. And everything in between. It's across the board, blue collar, white collar, and everything, and I like that mix. But in the day-to-day life, I probably called a money therapist more than anything else, by clients, because you're always dealing with emotions. It is the #1 hindrance and the #1 help at times. It gets in people's way when they try to make decisions, when they try to make decisions on their own, when they need to listen to somebody else, it gets in their way. And a lot of times when I'm meeting with people, the first thing I do is try to identify what emotions they're dealing with at that point in time. Because usually you can tell, are they even gonna hear me? And sometimes you need to meet multiple times before they can even hear you. Because the emotions they're dealing with are blocking everything that you could potentially tell them or help them with. They won't even listen at that point. Because a lot of times for me, I'm dealing with people in crisis. Whether it's real or not, to them it's crisis. And that doesn't matter how much money they have. They could be the person with $1 million or the person that's just want to start out with 50. And they're in some form of crisis because to them, that's their world. And it could be for obvious reasons, death in the family or a serious illness. Sometimes they get those phone calls of, I just got diagnosed with cancer, I haven't told my family yet, what do I do? Monday I'm meeting with 2 families where the spouses have been diagnosed with Alzheimer's. So we're gonna talk about their financial situation and the risks and those types of things. You have people with new babies. There's as much fear in that as someone with death in the family. Buying a new house, getting a new job, graduating college, retiring, lots of fear in retirement. There's just a lot of emotion in all different stages of life. Things that we would think is very positive can have just as much emotion as things that are very negative. And none of that really is tied to the amount of money or the job they have. That's one thing I learned going into the business. I thought, well, if they're a CPA, if they're a lawyer, if they're this or that, there's these high degrees, they're smarter. No, they're not. They really aren't. People that you think would be smarter with money aren't. And I think a lot of times what gets in our way emotionally is we think, well, they all know what they're doing. I don't. That's bull. It really is. Everybody's dealing with the same stuff. They're just dealing with it in their own way. But no one talks about it. And probably to me, one of the biggest hindrances we have is social media. It's something I confront all the time with people. I call it the Facebook effect. And the Facebook effect is someone comes into my office and says, all my friends are going here. All my friends own this. Why don't I have it? Well, one, you don't know if they really have it. Because on Facebook, that's not all real, right? Instagram, Facebook, all the social media, people put out there what they want you to see, what they want you to think their life is about, or how much they have, or how happy they are. But is that really what they have? Is that really how happy they are? You don't really know, but that's the comparison. And then all those advertisers around there, all the marketers, and the supposed experts in the financial world, you know, I could name drop like a Dave Ramsey or someone like that because it annoys me. I'm a believer in the foundational principles, but if you listen to those guys on the radio, what are they doing? They're going to put the more fantastic stories out there. They're going to put stories that have more emotions in them. Because emotions get attention. Emotions sell an advertiser. Emotions make people listen. Emotions make you make bad decisions. But they really don't care about that. They care about selling what they want to sell. And people on Facebook are doing the same thing with their own lives. They're selling their life to you. And then you're measuring against a measuring stick that's false. And we get caught in that every day. And people are dealing with it every day and then looking at their own money saying, if I only had more, if I only did this, or if I only changed this. And you don't know what situation they're truly in. And what people really need to do is reflect more on their own goals, establish reasonable goals, understand where you are, and create your own measuring sticks that are reasonable. And that's a lot of the biggest battle I deal with every day, whether it be health insurance or financial or planning for something. What goals are appropriate for you? Let's look at you. Look at your heart, what you want to achieve, what you need to achieve. What are your skills? What are your abilities? You know, whether you're making $30,000 a year or $130,000 or more, what does it matter? If you're doing what you're passionate about, if you're achieving what you need to achieve, if you're happy, if your kids are happy, or your spouse or loved ones, whatever it is, those numbers don't necessarily matter. Society says they do. I know people that are just as happy making $30,000 or happier than those that make $130,000. I had clients making $30,000 a year that were saving more money than the people that were making $130,000. It's about what you do with it. It's about the goals you set. Now, obviously, there are limits on either side. You know, there's a point where you can't afford the needs. But it's defining what those needs truly are versus the wants. And that social media, those advertisers, the retailers, your friends, everyone's telling you the wants are your needs. But we need to really cut through all that, try to filter through some of those emotions and really get down to the truth. And that's always the biggest challenge with it. So just, I guess, some other thoughts. Fear is probably the biggest emotion I come up against all the time. And a lot of that comes down to a few different things. One is people are afraid of what they're going to have to give up. You know, when they come to me and say, you know, I'm not on my path. I have a goal, $1 million, $100,000, $1,000, whatever their goal is. I don't think I'm getting there. Well, then you talk about, well, this is what you need to do. I don't want to really give anything up. Because what they have, they don't want to change. They don't want to be looked at differently. They want to still drive that fancy car or have those clothes or have their kids not be disappointed in them, whatever it might be. But it's that fear of change is a big issue for people. They're afraid of repeating mistakes of their parents or other loved ones or friends. So it makes them not even make choices because they're so afraid of making the bad choice that they've seen other people in their family make. So then they avoid making choices at all. That's very common. And that comes down to communication, which is what people are afraid of because then they admit their faults or admit their weaknesses. So getting people to do that. They're afraid due to misinformation. As a kid, I always remember my grandma and my mom, they'd go to Russ's to get a piece of pie to talk with their friends. And that's what I picture a lot with some of this, because especially in Medicare, I deal with this all the time. Well, my cousin told me. we were out for dessert. My cousin said this. Well, your cousin's not very smart. It's kind of hard to say that, but you have to get down to the truth. They want to listen to the friend that must know it all because they're telling me things, so they have to know. No, they don't. They're just talking. And you have to get through some of that misinformation, the things that people read on Google that isn't always true, or those supposed experts that told you the fantasized story. You have to apply it to you, your situation. So again, it's communication and conversation. And there's a lot of fear just due to a general lack of knowledge. You know, kids don't get educated in financial management. They really don't do a great job of that in schools. There are some of that that's starting to improve. There's some of that conversation that happens out there, but I offer that a lot to parents. Like if you have kids that are in college, you want them to get started, have them come in here. I'll sit and talk with them. I'll tell them what I do with my money. I draw it out. Here's the mistakes I've made. Here's what I've learned. Here's how much money I have in the bank. Here's how much money I have in these accounts. I don't care. I'll show it. And tell kids what I would do at your age. This is what I did. This is what I didn't do. Here's how I can help. Just to get them started right. They need to know what credit cards are and what they're not. What they're good for and what they're not good for. How they should have an emergency fund and all those types of things. They're not being told that because their parents were never told that, and the parents of their parents were never told that, and they don't share that information at home. So that's a big issue that's out there. It's just a lack of sharing that knowledge. There's also a lot of anger that I deal with, usually anger at other people. Anger at their situation, anger at their spouse, especially if they're in a divorce. Anger at their kids for manipulating them, using emotions to manipulate them. There's a lot of confusion, a lot of jealousy. Those are obvious things. Let's see if there's anything else additional on here. I guess that's kind of the key comments I guess I have with all that. Obviously, we'll get to some questions later.
Thank you.